Hey nerds, how's it going? Quick announcement before the episode tonight. Coming at you, October 22nd, we're going to be streaming our live performance from San Diego Comic-Con. It's a very special one-of-a-kind one-shot with some cool announcements attached to it, so you're not going to want to miss out on that. That's 7 p.m. Pacific on YouTube and Twitch. And the week after that, October 29th, we're going to be streaming our Gen Con live performance, which is the Key to the Universe crew a couple days after they left Beauworth Island in the middle of the ocean. What could possibly go wrong? And then the week after that, November 5th, we're going to start streaming part 2 of Key to the Universe. So we're getting up to a lot of cool stuff before the end of the year. You're not going to want to miss out. That's Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you can't be there for the stream, you can still catch the episode, of course, released the following Monday morning on YouTube and podcasting platforms. But if you want to get early access to those things, you can become a YouTube member or a Twitch subscriber, and you will be able to catch those episodes as they release. So please join us there. I can't wait to share with you all the cool stuff we're getting up to before the end of the year. And then soon enough, Campaign 2 will be upon us, and we're just going to go full bananas mode. Lots of stuff to look forward to. Thanks so much, nerds. Enjoy this episode of Mastering the Game. Welcome to Mastering the Game
with Seth
and Shane. Today, we're talking about secrets. Specifically secrets, I mean, in any capacity.
God, there's
just
so
in
many.
life.
Yeah.
But between a DM and a player.
Yes.
That's something I think is kind of salient. This is for next week, we will have our Comic-Con episode.
Yes.
And then the week after that, we will have our Gen Con episode.
Ooh.
And then the week after that, we got KTU season 2, baby.
Buddy.
And it's going to be...
Dang, we got a packed release schedule coming up.
We're going to be firing on all
Hell
cylinders.
yeah. That's
and then
awesome.
just a short break before Campaign 2.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
But now we have the opportunity to talk a little bit about secrets and how they sort of, maybe traps that they create for players and DMs, and also the advantages of using them, and also, I don't know.
I mean, I feel like you in particular, right? Because like you have, man, I've never been at a table where a secret had as much impact on like the world, on me, on like my just like everything as sitting there for KTU Part 1. Because holy shit, like that was world shattering for me, for the players or the characters in the game.
Yeah.
So like, I'm very curious about what that process was like. How did you go about talking to Brooke? What did she know? What did she not know?
Yeah.
Like, what was that? What were those conversations like? Because it was fucking masterfully executed, so well done, and it blew my fucking mind as a DM, and like in character, out of character, as a GM, as a player, all boxes checked. So like, what the fuck did you do? How did you do that?
Oh man, that's so nice. I
man. Like one of probably the best experience I've ever had at a D&D table was like sitting there losing my shit, like, which is so palpable. You can watch it happen. Yeah. But God.
So I think it's a multifaceted answer. Something that I'm always conscientious of is like a thing that Jordan Peele said is like follow the fun.
Yes.
And so and this is a new tactic I've been trying to take with varying results, but whenever I come up with an adventure, I start by just talking to the players about like where we're at with characters. And so with KTU, it was a whole new undertaking. I had never played with Brooke before or Mayana before, and we like met them at Comic-Con. They were dope, and we were like, "What do you want to hop on and do a thing?"
Yeah.
And they were both so freaking cool about it.
Consummate professionals.
And Brooke and I, we were exchanging messages about certain ideas, and then we were doing the thing that nerds do, which is like measuring how nerdy we were against each other. And she was like, "Oh, well, I just casually know a bunch of phrases in Undercommon," and I was like, "Oh yeah, bet."
Yes.
Who stands a dose?
Yeah, because kind of great.
And so we had that like right away. It was like, okay, we had a sort of wavelength match on that. Amazing. And so we started to put together, like I've like a joke I've had for a while. I think maybe we'll see how campaign 2 goes. I think I've already broken this, but for a long time, every character I'd ever played spoke Undercommon.
Nice.
So I always had some of those phrases in my back pocket for fun. But so we were like, okay, something drow's happening.
Yeah,
definitely.
Cool. Okay.
And then I think it was like me approaching every player and being like, what are you interested in playing? And I think like for you, we talked about the Dompier thing. And for Mayana, a big part of it was like the culture she came from, the like highbrow culture to the lowbrow, that move.
That fall from grace,
fall,
kind of.
Yeah. And Brooke was like, I've always wanted to do this weird Unearthed Arcana race, the like Unborn, I think it's called, or the Reborn.
The Reborn. Yeah. Okay.
And we were like, okay, how could that manifest? And I think it might have been Brooke who came up with the idea of like, what if there was like a simulacrum and we use that stat block? And then we were like looking at the spell and we were like, simulacrums live until they're dispelled.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay. And I was like, hang on.
Yeah.
There's a timeline in our world that is like kind of infinitely expansive backward.
Yeah.
So you could be from any time, like, and it just like kind of spiraled from there. And so, the conversation was, and you and I have had similar conversations where as a DM you go, hang on, I just had an idea that I can't tell you about.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But here are like the things I can tell you that are that you must hold true to yourself, and then we will kind of go from there. So I kept as much as I could from Brooke, so that it's always very important to me, even though Venture Forth is like a storytelling show, and where we oftentimes will pull away from gaming and mechanical elements in order to tell the best possible story. It's always like the live experience is very important to me, and the feeling of like it not being prescriptive. So I was like, here's what from, I gave her like everything Andra would have known from her time, and then I was like, in your mind, this is like the last event that kind of happened. And then we did the session 0 where I kind of gave her the like kickoff into the new world. And other than that, I think like as a storyteller with like storytelling instincts, I think she knew certain things. It's like,
of course,
you don't set up the like dalliance with godhood without having it, that's the Chekhov's gun of it, where it's like, well, they succeeded, but like she didn't know that officially until episode 3, right? Where it was like, oh, yeah, my alternate worst self did become a god, right?
Yeah.
But those were the elements of like, she knew she was a simulacrum because that was kind of the impetus of the idea, right? But outside of that, she didn't know. I didn't tell her anything about modern day Elbor.
Wow!
So you guys
that's
being
cool.
like these are the gods. She was like, that's not the like. I have notes on the gods, and these are what they are.
That's amazing.
So and that's why you can see Brooke very vehemently shuffling her papers to all of those episodes because I had sent her pages of text,
of course,
of just like, here's like the thousands of years of history that you would know from your world, and like the different gods that existed and how they manifested, and her character's relationship with the gods too is something really that she and I had hammered down because we wanted to make sure there was some that the
why was there,
to it, that it would hold water.
Fuck, it did. Oh my God, literally. She
She
held water too,
and it's like that's one of those things I talk about this all the time. This is a story by Robert McKee which is a famous screenplay writing book, infamous. He has a thing called, what's it called? It's the idea is, I'll just say, I can't remember what his like term for it is, but it's like I think it's the obligatory scene. And it's basically the idea, it's kind of like Chekhov's gun, right? You introduce a gun, it's got to go off. Right? And when you come up with a thing, Kellick's aced, right? He is a cleric who has lost his powers from the goddess that he worships. The obligatory scene is that he confronts that goddess for why he lost his powers, right? There's like, it's set up. We talked about warlocks last episode or 2 episodes ago, and it's like the obligatory scene of the warlock is it breaks the contract.
The face off with the patron.
It either breaks the contract or fulfills the contract, right? It's like one of those things happens. So there's like, I'm always like, and it's something kind of you can be prescriptive about that. You could be like, okay, well, let me think about this character. What's the obligatory scene? Or you can, which is, I think there's also just an intuitive element to it,
Right.
that you're just like when she was like, I'll be a simulacrum. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stab your hand. I was like, but I didn't say that, right? I was like, in my mind, I was like,
how do you reveal it, right?
I have an idea
dramatic
for
way.
how I could, and then I was like, and then we'll end the episode right there. Like that, I knew I wanted to do, right? Like that, I knew was gonna be a great little cliffhanger, and like I had this perfect kind of villain in Vator, who's somebody who could know a lot of things but be willing to share nothing.
Yes.
You know, and,
God, he was a very man. That guy, I was like. I was just like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? Like, I could not figure him out. He was so wonderfully layered and complex.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I was just like, what is fucking happening? Like, is this guy gonna gut us later? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, that this is how secrets can sometimes bite you in the ass, is like something that I like privately talked to Brooke about after the fact, and I think in between the second episode and the third episode was like the players all unilaterally decided, outside of Brooke, that like Lakain, or her lab partner, was the bad guy. Like that's the villain. You guys were all like, this guy. Well, especially I think Mayana was like, fuck that guy in particular. And I was like, no, he's actually good.
He's like the one very good guy.
I almost never design NPCs that are like genuinely good. Yeah. And like Lakain, like, you know, we'll see, but. Yeah, but at least in the thrust of what I had for that series of episodes, is I was like, no, like he did sincerely try to do right, right? Like this character was genuinely trying to do the right thing the whole time. But it's like you can't. That's the DM's curse. Is you're like, well, I can't share that, so we're just gonna have to let them sort it out.
Dude, that's a very like the DM's curse. Like the secrets that you often get burdened with that you maybe don't get to reveal, or like you have to wait forever to reveal.
Yeah.
It's like, now that I'm thinking about it though, because like KTU, like God, that is maybe like a core theme of the entirety of it, because it's like the secret that Lakahin kept from Andrea, you know, that he knew she was the simulator. Like, that's a fucking awesome thing, right? Like the secret of Vator, and like all the secrets that he kept, and like why he was looking, his relationship to Corvin Amberstone, like those were secrets. Jesus, Mayana's, Solana's secrets, Wilkes, and some of these secrets like we still have yet to really explore, right? Kane's had a big secret.
Kane had a big secret.
There was so much of it was all about secrets, and like in a very thematic way, and like those things coming to light was such a fascinating, like it gave so much momentum to that story. Yeah. And it felt like it was inexorably marching towards this crescendo, and it was so, but and like in so many ways it was so beautifully like resolved with the reveal of so much of that. Like, and like it's so funny because we talked a lot about like, and you, I know, were like, was it climactic enough? And I'm like, to me, yes. Right? God, yes. Because like that was it wasn't like, it was the confluence of so many of those secrets, and like how they all married was, to me, like the climax. It wasn't like a big fight. That wasn't it at all. Yeah. I loved the way that like all of those things came and got resolved, and in such a satisfying way. Like it's so meaty. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like and so like it's funny because like I didn't really realize it until right now, but like secrets was a core component of I think what was made KTU so compelling. Yeah. It was like everybody had a big one. Yeah. And there were other ones that like there were, and then of course there were the ones that you had that like above table secrets about the world.
That's so hard too, because like there's stuff that I like couldn't wait to share with you, right? It was like ideas I had, and like I can't talk about that.
This is the curse.
But there's just stuff where you're like, I've lost my train of thought because I'm so caught up in what I can't say. But the one thing I did want to talk about was just like how much you all brought to that there was we had this cool vehicle for all of you had secrets from each other, but there was also like a lot you kind of all knew about each other in different ways. Kane and Solana went to school together. Wilkes and Solana had been on many missions together as a Crown Knight crew. Wilkes trusted Solana, and that was something that we kind of orchestrated from the beginning. We were like, well, why would Wilkes choose Solana? And Russell was like, well, maybe they've run a bunch of times together, and Solana's very competent, and Wilkes values competency, right?
Yes.
And given the events of MCOR, he's like, I'm not working with
bunch of
Macchies
jokers anymore.
Yeah, Macchies are out. I need somebody I can rely on. And so there's that element of like there's levels of trust shared, but not completely, right?
Yeah.
And how do you violate those levels of trust, and how do you satisfy them? Also, how do you meet them? So that was just something that like. That's the pleasure of the DM is that you can just kind of like let that ride, and you're like, oh, look at them doing all this, and finding the commonalities between your characters. Everybody was like Culkin's like, I don't know what my real form is. Sometimes I'm a dog. Yeah. And like maybe you're so what? You're made of water or whatever. Like what's the difference? Like object permanence has no meaning to me. Like what's the and there's a whole other sort of like that's sort of the wastes and the sand collars calling sort of speaking to that.
Impermanence is like a deep element of their like culture. And so like you know what I mean? Like you said, like object permanent, it's like there's nothing permanent where they're from or who they are or any of it. Right? Like we talked about this, I think afterwards, which is really fascinating. Again, building backwards and forwards, right?
You learn from it as it's going, which is so crazy.
That was like so wild the way that manifested through Culkin, where we were like, that is it's an integral part of this culture now. Yeah, it's like because like this idea of like impermanence and the nature of things is like, well, who gives a shit? Like what you are? You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. To a culture that can shapeshift, right? What does that mean? Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's fascinating.
It's it's so cool because you all kind of found your way there too. Yeah. With the exception maybe of Wilkes,
who's still like, has to be like, well, you don't have a heart, dude. God bless Russ.
That's so great.
That was a great moment at the table.
We love it. We love it.
He's so good at that. But that was like so many, and like the pacing of those reveals was very interesting. Well, I'm curious, like, do you think like on a gradient, right? Like, obviously Brooke had, perhaps the most impactful in terms of like the world, right? Secret. Yeah. Did you, obviously, that was maybe the most like work that you had to do as far as like everybody else and their kind of secrets. Did you notice any like similarities, differences? Like, was there any that you're still excited about that like are still going to come to light that obviously you don't have to tell us, but like I feel like there's still a lot of depth to plumb there from those characters. So like,
it's something that I'm like, there's a part as an entertainer, right? You're always like, oh, I hope I can like, hit the same high notes, have the same kind of things. But I think there's also, it would be a disservice to try to like engineer more dramatic reveals where that's not necessarily where the story is going. Yeah. And instead with this second round of this book 2 of Key to the Universe, I'm trying to, like you said, plumb the depths of what we know about these characters and find when these characters were faced with Raimsa, they were outmatched, in so many respects, and they had to meet that with like this like high intensity, right? This like, world-ending threat kind of thing. And in this second round, I want to kind of like get in a room with them and like really kind of like meet them where they're at and try to like pick apart the more granular elements of them. So there are definitely still like unknown elements that will be revealed, I think, from the characters. But because of the episodic nature of it and it not being a 200 episode campaign, right? Like things are sort of fast tracked. So like the characters know a lot about each other, and like, Andra, for instance, like Brooke and I have talked about this because I was like, how can I hurt you?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what are you afraid
Give
of?
me my DM daggers.
Yeah, give me those. And like, and she was like, well, these are now the only people in the world that Andra trusts, right? Like, she's lost everybody
That's
else,
true.
right?
Wow.
And
God.
so it's like, because of the events of the first round of KTU, now these characters are like of pivotal importance to Andra.
Right.
And so it's like that fast track to the like entrenched battalion of these characters. And it's like, okay, well, how can I, instill conflict between them, create wedges if that's salient or not, or give them a common foe? How can I stimulate them to action? And also, again, like pick away at that, the internal crises, something that like for the Gen Con episode, which is coming out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is.
That I wrote at the top of my notes is like, I was like, everyone's a monster. And this is what's so crazy is I was like, cause they're kind of the monster squad, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, the purpose, the theme of this one shot, right, of just this episode, is to explore the internal monster in all these characters and like what that actually is, right? And like Wilkes's internal monster is a little different. Everybody's got a different like burden they're carrying that maybe not everybody knows about, or maybe not everybody knows the depths of, which is the other thing that like I think Kane still has a lot. That like it's like, yeah, he's the gentleman dump here. He's maybe he drinks blood, and it's like goes a little deeper than that. Yeah, it's like shit's a little more fucked than that.
There's an entry in one of Andra's journals that I was like, that is a very good descriptor of Kane, and it was she says the mask only began to show the cracks when his worldview was like shattered or something like that. Yeah, and it's like. Yeah, because of where he comes from. He has very
practiced.
Oh, there is
he
a
is
very,
a practiced performer.
Yeah. There is a thing there, right? Man, I'm excited. I'm excited because you've kind of like to the point of communication without revealing anything. You have been like, hey, we're gonna see some shit, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, let's go.
Yeah,
like,
we're gonna.
I don't know anything that's gonna happen. I have no idea other than I just gotten the heads up of like, hey, there's some stuff I'm gonna throw at you, and basically that's it. That's all I know. So I'm just like, excellent. It's like I'm very excited.
Yeah, the joy I have with designing this thing coming up. Oh, and just to put a button on that point too about the internal monsters. I will say there was one character for whom I was like, I don't know what their internal monster is. Like, I guess like I just like kind of left that thread hanging. I was like, maybe I'll come back to this. We found out.
Yeah, we did. We found out in a big way.
I was like, I could not believe it.
Yes.
I could not believe it. Like, that's where D&D is just, it's just like,
you can't manufacture
there's stuff where
right?
you're like, okay, well, that just fucking happened without me having to engineer anything. Like, I just gave a little push. And it's like, yeah, you got, there's a monster in everyone, baby.
It's so funny because like I think we did talk about this and I won't reveal anything, but there, you were like, there's this one character that like I'm not sure what that darkness is, and fuck, like it's like, oh yeah, that's why they're here. Okay,
I got it.
Yeah, and it's secrets, man. Secrets. Yeah. There's some heavy ones there.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, that's gonna be really fun too. I can't wait for that. That's gonna be good times. Yeah.
Gosh, I wish KTU was not constrained by episodes. I'm like, dude, I feel like it's like, man, I'm like, let's just keep it rocking.
Yeah.
You sure you don't want to run Gambit?
I mean, maybe we'll have to see. That's the thing. Like we somebody in the chat last week. I see you in chat. Yeah. I see you. Somebody was like, it'd be cool if you guys ran different systems and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, it would. That would be great. Yeah. I'll let you know when we can.
Yeah, we've got the emotional bandwidth to do it, right?
And the scheduling and join our Patreon.
Yes, join our Patreon. God, it helps us so much.
Yeah. And just like, the scheduling and time, even with like both times that I think it's okay to share this.
Yeah.
Both times that we've done KTU now, like we've got our schedule for when we're recording KTU. And like both times I've like allotted an extra day. I've been like, and everybody put this day aside because maybe we'll want to go more episodes.
Yeah.
That has become requisite because of some conflict there. some scheduling.
I mean, it's so funny.
conflict.
It's like if you think the big bad evil is scheduling when you're just playing this game with your friends, like when you're like making a show with a bunch of very talented people who have a lot of demands on their time. Woo, it adds a whole nother. God bless our the illustrious Rebecca, because I don't know how she herds the cats.
Our main cat herder.
Good Lord.
Shepherd.
I try to very regularly be like, by the way, you're amazing. Like, just to be like, by the way, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Because I would put my fist through a wall trying to deal with it all. So
yeah, it can be there even in the first. Yeah, I remember the first KTU I was scheduling. I scheduled it with Brooke, and there was a time where we had some thing where she was like, "Oh, I actually can't do that date," and I was like, we're talking about September, right? Like we were like the entire time we were both saying like the 8th or something like that, and she thought we were talking about August, and I was like, we're talking about September, like, because it was like, oh, it's just too soon or something. I was like, it's too soon. It's a month away. Like, we got plenty. So even like those tiny things where you're like, nope, everything's actually fine. But for a second, it was a panic.
Yes, right. It's just like that gut, like, it's the worst.
Oh, but we need that time. How are we going to,
How are we going to reveal all these juicy secrets?
I got so many secrets to reveal. Yeah.
It's like, oh man. The scheduling, always very interesting. And, having the time, man, that is the other thing that I think is really impressive about KTU. I don't think people understand that it is actually harder to run a constrained campaign than it is to run a campaign. Like what Shane did with KTU is harder than what I had to do with a main campaign. Which is
I don't know if that's
which is like, but I mean, the thing is I had an unlimited amount of time, right?
Sure.
Like I had, well, not unlimited. I still had to like, we I was like, hey, we gotta fucking wrap this shit up. but like having to tell a satisfying story, reveal those secrets, make them have impact, and do it while being up against the very real life constraints of like actual scheduling. Yeah. Man, nothing short of that is a Herculean lift.
And do you have any insight though? I'm curious with like the more long form campaign, like how do you measure out how much you're giving away at any given time, and like what kind of wisdom can you share? Because that's very interesting to me.
I don't know that I've figured it out still. Sure, honestly, that
would be my answer too for KTU.
Yeah, secrets. I don't know that you ever really figure it out. I think that like even to this day, right? Like there are sessions I walk away from where I'm like, did I reveal that too soon? Or did I give too much away? Or did I, such and such and such? I try to remember that you guys don't have all the context that I have. Right. And usually if I think I'm doing too much, I'm probably right where I need to be. Like that's been my gut most of the time.
I think it's easy to err on the side of being too nebulous, and that is a mistake. I think that's transparently a mistake to be like, the players have no idea what's going on. Ha ha ha. It's like, no, they should pretty much know. And like something that I had to learn, like something I've like beaten into myself is like, it's totally okay if the players solve the thing.
Yes.
If they solve it episodes ahead of when you thought, like that's good for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's good. And then you can try and subvert it a little bit, but it's like, it's okay for things to be, to play out as expected. Like that's also satisfying, right?
Yeah. The secret that comes with like that happened, right? And I'm actually curious for your perspective as a player, right? Like, were there secrets that you saw coming, secrets that you didn't? And because like one of the worst things that I think, and this is maybe why I err on the side of giving more away than I normally would, right? Or than I think might otherwise be wise, is the alternative. I would rather you guys solve it and get that satisfaction earlier than I anticipated than have me drop the bomb and not
go and
land.
Just glass eyes. Yeah, just
that
glazed eyes.
Right?
That's the worst.
That's the worst because then it's like, oh my God, all that work, that like angst of me not sharing it. Yeah. And now I don't even get the like satisfaction, the payoff of seeing a player go like, what? That's I would rather the former than the latter.
Definitely. Yeah.
But I'm curious, like, were there, like you solved, right, the whole like West Reach, the drow from Doirnin and where they were going.
Which is crazy because that was the thing that you orchestrated like within the crossover from Ethan, right? Like, which is like such a fascinating element of it is like you had these kernels that Ethan left and you like quickly like planted them into what you were doing with the future of the thing. And so like I don't know how I put that together, honestly, because it was just like I think I was just like, what information do we have? Because I think like Siren
he said like the
how do you say his name? Because in my brain I just went Siren.
I think it's Saran. I think it's Saran.
Saran. I think it is, but I was just like thinking in Strauss's voice. I was like Saran.
Yeah.
But Saran, he said something to the effect of, they're coming from somewhere we don't know or something like we haven't found something, right? It was like, we don't know what they're planning because we don't know where it's coming from or something like that. And it was like, I was like, well, what are the only other places it could come from? You know, like it was a simple matter of deduction, but it was like, okay, well, I had only a couple pieces of information ultimately. It was just like, we saw an army down there.
Yeah.
Where's that going? You know? And then like being able to go, okay, well, have you guys checked the Underdark?
Yeah.
You thought about
well, you asked, like, you were like, where's the nearest entrance to the Underdark? And Saran was like, in the mountains, like 2 days northwest of here or northeast of here. And you were like, you might want to go check that out.
Maybe go look at that.
Which I mean, like, who would have thought, right? Like, and there was so much there. And again, the colonels that Ethan left, because I think I asked him. I was like, I was like, what was that army doing? And he was like, oh, that was like, he had like a whole nother conflict going down.
He did. He had a second war. He was like manufacturing. Yeah.
But to me, I was like, that's cool. But like, again, the Chekhov's gun element of it, I was like, well, I don't want that to like not have impact because it was at such an integral point, right, in the story.
It was that point
so
of
I was
inflection,
like,
really.
No, they're marching to the surface.
You folded
like,
that in instead.
They're going after Westreach because it's weak.
Yeah.
And elves bear grudges, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that was like, I loved that you figured it out because it was like, it changed, what I had planned.
And that's the ideal scenario, right? And that's something that like, I am really pleased with how it manifested in season 1 of KTU, because it was just like, I couldn't have, like, it happened perfectly. And I cannot speak to how exactly that I made that happen and how you got, because it's like, obviously that's a many-handed job of like, everybody kind of figuring it out, kind of like Wilkes being like, what year is it? You know what I mean? Like having those things like fall into place so beautifully is like a dream come true in terms of like what you want from the players, you know? Gosh, where was I going with this? Just that like this is the one bit of wisdom I guess I would have on that is like the ideal, like the way that it's too far probably is when you build in something that tells them. I think it's like if they ask an NPC a question and that NPC knows the answer, they can tell them, right? But it's like one thing I did in the last moment, basically, before we started episode 3 of KTU, was I had, I think we all know now that the little blue light that was in that thing is Lakain's like essence.
Yeah.
And I had it initially as like a full ass hologram kind of thing, or not necessarily a hologram, but that it could speak.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just like this like thing that's kind of imprisoned there, but that instead it was like, and this is still true to some extent. It's like Lagahin was like kind of by a twisted strain of fate became the sort of like a better word, janitor, the keeper of this thing that he gave his life trying to prevent the creation of. And so he would be the storyteller, right? And I was like, I wrote out all of the stuff he would say to explain what happened, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that doesn't give the players any opportunity to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I keep that element? And also, by the way, I was trying to make sure I got everything done in time. So I was like, I need to have less that I read out loud, right? And so instead I had the like motifs.
Yeah.
Like I had already come up with what those motifs were, the like etchings in the wall.
Yeah.
But I was having him kind of narrate them like you're on a docent tour.
Like in the museums when you got the headphones on. That's amazing.
But instead it was like, well, what if I just took out the narration and they just see these images and they have to put stuff together, which of course then you still have the result of like Solana being like, wait, was there an affair going on between Osrigor and Andreil? And I was like, no,
Yeah.
like, that's not what I meant at all.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't have control over that.
But yeah, you don't
But
get to choose what they hypothesize.
You do get as a joy is that the players are asking questions. And the players are going, what if it's this? What if it's this? And then when you deliver it, they go, I knew it. And you're like, well, you pitched like 5 ideas.
Yeah, right. But hey, I got one.
At least one of them is definitely right.
Like if you shotgun enough, right? You're bound to hit something. Fuck. But that was very gratifying because I do remember like the cool part about that whole thing, right, was like there was still an element of it that remained unknown.
Yes.
Again, to like. Because, like, I think with secrets, right, and this is a very long way, I think that you did, like, that's a great example of how you do it in the short context, but, like, it's ultimately the same in the longer breadth of a campaign. It's like, it's just doughy. You just stretch it out more, you know, you give piecemeal bits. Like
breadcrumbs.
Yeah, there's breadcrumbs to it, right? Like, I mean, with the, I guess, like, I'm trying to think of maybe a reveal that took, like, with, the nature of Vasronath and, like, the fact that he was a god and like the origins of Elborn, how it happened. Like the first, like you guys got a little bit from Artemisia, and then you got a little bit from the Weaver, or from the Weaver. You got that like the lights and them falling and this barrier that like the spheres. Like I kind of emoted all of it, and I think some of you guys had some ideas about it, but like, and then again, you get this like. I think in our last episode when we talked about maps, we like I got to reveal that and everybody got to go like, oh, fuck. And it lands, and that's fun. That's very, very fun and satisfying. Is when the secrets, if you can string them out and you can give the players enough information to get them asking questions and make it kind of a brain worm, you know what I mean? It like sticks and they're like, what the fuck is that all about?
What is going on here?
That's when I think you're doing it right. When the players are going like, like what's happening? That like if they're asking those questions, I think that you're doing a good job.
Yeah,
and you're stringing it along the way that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But I am curious what you think. So this is like that's like on a macro view, and I employ a framework that I learned on the interwebs from I think like the guy named Sly Flourish, which is the secrets in the context of like a session.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to spend a little bit of time maybe talking about secrets in the context. I mean, unless we feel like there's more gold to mine in the broad context of secrets in a campaign. Oh shit! Sorry, there was a point I wanted to.
Oh, hit it.
Which is that like you spoke to it and you asked me a question, which was like you have this element of like the secrets got revealed in season 1 of KTU.
Yeah.
And now in season 2, we kind of get to like beat them up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the same thing, right? I think that's really important. Is like you get the secrets of the reveal, right? You get like because by the end of a campaign, right, or even like halfway through a campaign, the secrets amongst the players are mostly all
honestly should be. Yeah, I think so. I think if you're still holding on to a secret for like to the very end of like before the final fight kind of thing, it's like it's a detour. Like from like everybody's amped up for like the main thrust happening now. It's like I think you want there's this kind of like arc. In my mind, I'll call it ideal, but obviously these things are very flexible. But the ideal arc is like you get these like disparate characters who all have unique origins and outlooks, and then over the course of the campaign, they like collide and conflict, and then by the like sort of middle point, or maybe even like the like 3/4 point, like they have found some harmony.
Yes,
and that doesn't mean that they become identical. It doesn't mean that they all agree on everything, but there is like, I see you. I'm a werewolf and you're a simulacrum, and we both like have no permanence to our existence, and like we're the same, that kind of thing where there's like harmony, and then as a united front, they can face the bad guy, right? Like, and it's like, you see that all the time in team 'em ups like Avengers and Justice League, where it's like we disagree, like we fight for a bit and then we become mates, and then we take on the Godzilla, King Kong, same kind of thing. We fight for a bit, then we're mates, and then we kill the like Mothra or Ghidorah or whatever, right? The one that's like objectively bad, and I think that's kind of like a satisfying story arc, for lack of a better word. Yeah,
I agree too. Like I think that there is a point at which, right, when you get into the campaign, and like I'm curious because like I'm struggling to think of like by the time I came in to venture forth, I think like most of the secrets had been revealed, with the exception of maybe Olma, right, which was mostly about like her family and the origins and Lady Alexandra and the nature of her ties to
and you came in halfway through that reveal,
which I was kind of in it as a player.
You were,
and then and so because like I don't think I really revealed anything extra after that. Most of it happened in Olma's ancestral home. And then there was still like conflict, but like I'm curious, like if we look at campaign 1, when do you feel like was that kind of moment where like it's like cool, we're all together, we resolved our differences, and now like we're on the main. I liken it to like these tributaries from a river, right? Each of the people starts in a different spring, and then they fall down the mountain and they crash over the rocks and they weave, and then eventually they all join the same river, and now that river empties into the ocean that is the end of the campaign. If you look back at campaign 1, do you as a player feel like there was kind of like an arc or a moment where that like all the secrets are revealed, we all kind of come together, and now we're all marching forward?
I think it's after Syl's execution. I think that's what it was. I think that's because that was. It's like, and maybe in the even in the beginning of, because that one juncture, which I think is very significant, is the second pact with Zarel.
Addersfeld,
right. That's a big one, right? Where everybody's like, we're all signing on to this now, right? We're backing you, Flynn. And we're all in this together.
We're all in it now. It's not just a you thing.
It's not just you. It's an us thing. And we're all going to face this together, right? And I think that was very meaningful in terms of like the overall scope of like everyone working together, and so many of our sort of like internal fights leading to, like, some of us wanted to go into the Underdark and some of us didn't. Some of us wanted to go into take the family through the mines, and some of us didn't. And there was like all these little fractures along the way where like none of that really, like, we would just keep fighting about it. And like they didn't necessarily get resolved. And it was a great source of guilt often. I always say like, I think about Penelope every day.
Oh, the horse, Penelope, and her funeral.
But all that to say, the thing that we hadn't yet explored at that point was Seeker's story, and there was still like one final to Kellic, who's an ornery sort. One final like betrayal or frustration in like we had this like horrible thing happen with Syl, and Kellic was like, "You could have told me." What we were getting in, like I was so like, and I think like to his credit, like Seeker did kind of go like, we need to be really careful here. And Kellic was like, whatever, I'm fucking blessed by the gods. I don't give a shit. Like I'm awesome. So there, that was an element of it. But once you get past that and you have, Kellic and Seeker kind of like Kellic kind of seeing himself in Kira, right, and having that kind of parallel, like that was when it was like, everything was completely lined up, and it was like, okay, now we kill Amberstone. Right?
That's funny because my first instinct was Addersfeld, because it, like, to your point, right? It was like we all now are like, we are bound to make to end Vastronath. Like that was like the Avengers, like, all right, we've got an enemy. And we're all in this together, despite our fights and our differences and the things we're still mad at each other about. They crop up still, right? Like you still get, after the Avengers 1, you still get Civil War.
Plenty of stuff.
So anyway,
exactly.
You still get
Perfect
that later. But I think I do think, which is interesting because it came kind of late. That moment of like, oh, we're all together. I mean, really, what? That was episode 160.
Let's see,
I think it's 162. Is Syl's?
That sounds right.
It's like 162.
Or wait, no, it was after that.
No, it was like
165 is like at Comic-Con or something.
Yeah.
Or no, I think 162 is at Comic-Con.
It might be 170.
It's somewhere in the 170s.
Yeah, it's like 172.
But again, I agree with you that that's a consequence of the DM swap and like whatever kind of like routes that Ethan was lining up, you had to like take and sort of wrangle into what would be the ultimate consequence of the campaign.
Well, and I need, I remember I was like, because like with the changeover, I remember we didn't really get Seeker. Like we just had never, like we got, and then I know like it was like Seeker and Kellic were kind of the last two bells I wanted to ring, right? It was because like Kellic, we needed the resolve. And I kind of had told you, I was like, your shit is like pretty much like end game because of the nature of the character's
100%.
backstory.
That's something I knew going in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Is that, like, I picked a class that would be heavily like embroiled in the main story.
Which, like, yeah, that's an interesting one. It's like, I think that certain backstories just lend themselves well to certain tiers of the game of play.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I think this is really interesting.
Some people, like, it's just like, you know, a lot of times it ends up being like marshals casters, right?
Yep.
Like marshals, because it's like, well, you just become a much better fighter. And that's not to say, like, that's just, again, one of the conceits of like the mechanics of the game. A lot of times, like, magic wielders just have like big hairy shit they got to solve, you know?
Yeah.
I played a wizard and he wanted to like kill a demigod.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? That's why he learned magic in the first place.
Right.
So it's like you end up with this kind of like, we talked about this with warlocks, but you have this kind of like built-in, you know, it almost comes ready-made for these certain elements to just take place at a certain
obligatory scene play. Yeah.
And the obligatory scene of like,
because like when you're a level 18 wizard, you can like bend reality.
Yeah.
So it's like you need a consequence that is like proportional to your abilities.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like even though fighters are goated, like they can't bend reality.
Yeah.
Although it sometimes feels like it during their turn.
Yeah, right? Extra surge.
How much time is this taking?
Yeah. All right, well, the dragon's dead.
Theory of relativity, my ass.
Yeah. But yeah. And then one thing I think that maybe, because I know we've been chatting for a while, but one thing I did want to touch on real quick was like the context of secrets in like a session.
Yeah.
Right? Which is like a different framework to look at secrets in the context of like your games. It's like you have this, you know, big secrets that are like world bending shit, right? Like big reveals of the characters.
Yeah.
Those, right, follow kind of like a natural, I think if you just read enough and watch enough, right? Like you get to a point where it's like, okay, the secrets are probably out by now. I've seen and heard really good stories of people who like have that like right before the end game reveal. Yeah. And it works sometimes.
Yeah, sure, of course.
I worry about the pitfall there being like, then now the whole game was about one person.
Yes.
That's like my concern with that premise.
Yeah. Which I do want to acknowledge that, like, because I followed the fun and because like Brooke gave me such a like fun jumping off point that already worked with a bunch of stuff. I knew before anything, I was like, I want to do something that has to do with the gods before the gods before the gods. Like, I was like, that's so fun. Yeah. And I want to see how that impacted the warring world of Elbor. Yeah. I wanted to be like, what's below the bedrock? What, you know, how can we go back further in time and what's that? So she gave me this simulacrum thing and I was like, okay, you're going to be a simulacrum from the era before the era and you're going to, who became the god of the next era and all this shit, right? So inherently it made Andra of more significance within the short time that we had to do the thing. Like Andra was very much the like center point of much of the central storyline, right? And then it becomes about how can I make sure that all the characters also get their due in terms of like their screen time, if you will, you know? And so there are, like you said, like there's just like, sometimes it's just like an inevitability that it's like, well, one character just has more going on with what's going on right now.
Right now, yeah.
And that's what's nice about being like, well, now we have season 2 and I can, you know, turn the lens to a different person.
It's literally like a spotlight that you can just kind of shift. And I mean,
I think that's what they call it in Daggerheart. I think they call it spotlighting.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that as like a premise. And like, I think that if you watch enough television and you see enough movies, you know what I mean? Or you read enough books, like this series of chapters is about this character. Right. This book is going to lean more heavily into this character, and then later on we lean into this character, you know? And like any good television show, like has episodes that focus more on one character or the other because you want to dive into them more and explore them more and see what themes you want to tap into. Yeah. And I think that's where secrets get to come into play. That's how you can kind of like reveal those. But
I do feel like I cut you off. What was the secrets within a session? Then I want to get Rebecca in here. But.
That was just basically to say that like on the macro level, you have secrets that like, again, right? Like you stretch them out, make sure everybody gets to a place where everybody kind of knows.
Secrets.
And the world changing secrets that like have these big moments between the characters that usually like crescendo and resolve. Yeah. Those, in my opinion, should all pretty much be solved in like by the act 4, right? Like in the 3rd act, by that time, everybody's secrets, we should all be on board. We're on the mission, right? And then, that's just to me what feels like good storytelling. And then, you have in session, then you have like campaign secrets that those can wait until the end, right? Again, to our last episode, right? Like, the fact that Elbor was Avalon, from this other world. That was a campaign secret but those are often to kick the door in for the next thing.
Yeah.
And so you're setting yourself up for something that comes later, right?
Right.
And that's where those come in. And then in the context of like a session, I'm a really big fan of secrets because I think that secrets just make for compelling stories.
Yeah.
And so like in a session, I like to write out 5 to 10 secrets that the characters may discover during the course of a session or two or whatever.
Totally.
And those are always tied into the broader secrets of the campaign.
Yeah.
And those are like, so it's like you kind of break it down, right? Again, that tributary idea of like, this is a little stream that's a secret that they can like send their little boat down and then get to the river, and then that gets to the next river, and that gets to the next, and it builds in that way. So like that's how I kind of chunk it out in my brain. And,
I love that.
All of my sessions, I have 5 to 10 secrets that the AOR might have discovered at any given time. And I never too attached to how those secrets get delivered. Yeah. And I think that's a very, like, to me, it's a really helpful framework.
One question I have about that is like, do you find yourself being like, is there a risk of too many rabbit holes, right? Where you're like,
there is.
Like,
that's
because I think definitely something that happened just as a result of, frankly, like the way we do Venture Forth is like, we don't do like if a player can't make a session, we don't do the session. Like we're not going to do like an episode where the character's just off screen for some reason the whole time, like that feels wrong. So we always tried to, if we knew somebody couldn't make it to a bunch of sessions, we'd be like, well, Shreya has some reason that none of the players knew, but that Ethan would orchestrate to go fly off and do a different thing, and then he would do solo episodes, and it was kind of fun that way. It was made things like very varied, but pacing wise, it was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
So and then I think also because it kind of led to like more sessions, then you get more secrets and more potential mystery boxes, and then maybe dissatisfying. Reveals, right?
That's a struggle point for me. I know, and it's a thing that I constantly have to check in with myself about. Be like, you sure you want to open up this can of worms?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are you sure you want to delve into this? Because I've found myself, and that's how you get kind of lost in the sauce a little bit, I think. And it is worthwhile to ask yourself that question, I think, a lot, because I have definitely been guilty of it. And like, I bet AOR campaign 1 could have been 15 sessions shorter because I probably got a little too, way down some rabbit holes I probably didn't have to go
15 sessions shorter if I had kept a couple of those monologues to myself.
No. I mean, but it's my, that's kind of my main job, right? Is to kind of like shepherd the story. And I find I'm a victim of my own self-indulgence sometimes.
Of course. I mean,
because I get so excited about it, but it is a pitfall and a trap. And like, that's a line that it's a floating target. I don't know that I still haven't quite figured it out. But I would say, again, right? Constraints. Put some constraints on yourself. And, and really double down and work. It's better to do. I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. You know what I mean? Like those things that you're like, these are really important and monumentous, and they're very integral. And I think I asked this too of you guys, like as we were getting into the latter half of, latter stages, I was like, is there any big secrets or unresolved? Is there anything you think need to be addressed for your character to actualize in the way that you wanted them to when we set off 5 years ago? And most of you guys were like, nope. And I was like, cool, then I feel we're in a good place. And that made me feel good. So, and I think that's communication, right? Check in with your players, ask them, because you can get a lot there.
100%. That's so significant. To the point about like sessions or secrets in a session, like I think there's such power in a prompt of being like, well, let me just like, again, have a check-in with myself of like, oh, have I put enough secrets into this? Like, is there enough for the players to grab onto? Because like, I know that I'm interested in what I've written down, but like, how do I make sure that the players feel some investment? And that's something I'm definitely still working on. Like, it's easier said than done, especially as you get more sessions down the road. Because it can't just be, well, you're the warlock and there's your patron, right? It has to be like, well, now that the warlock has sorted things out with their patron, like, why do they stay in the game? What is their actual, like,
what's the thrust?
What is my purpose?
And I mean, like, I think every DM probably, if I was honest and I really went back, I'd be like, oh, that's a secret, right? A rabbit hole I opened up that I never went down. And I think that's pretty normal and standard.
It is. It's a caveat of, I don't know. It's just a piece of this
format.
you know, and you just got to kind of roll with it.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, that's interesting, right?
And I think there is some comfort in like, well, if the players didn't like follow that particular trail, like that doesn't mean it doesn't exist somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's just like it wasn't of interest to them at the time, and like,
Mhm.
you know, maybe we'll pluck it later and see where it goes. You know,
Yeah.
that's the joy of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's plenty of secrets that I probably, you know, didn't fully expand upon, but I'm also like, well, that's for another time, or maybe it's just a question that'll never get answered.
Ton of boxes. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I will say we have talked through what the clip was. The infamous. I like to think infamous. Vator
it's
stabbing
fucking
Andre in
amazing.
the palm for
Yeah.
the. You know, maybe I'll put like a tiny snippet of it right here.
What?
The simulacrum.
The what?
And that is where we are going to end our session for the day.
There you go.
Just that one moment. But I think we've pretty much covered what we would have talked about within that.
Yeah.
Of like Brooke kind of knowing, she knew she was a simulator. So you can see on her face, there's a moment where she kind of like knowingly, like of what's going to happen. But I think one of the TikTok comments on that clip is like, she knew she ate or something like that. And it's like, yeah, very much so. But the further ramifications of
You
that.
get to see the rest of us lose it, especially this freaking guy.
Yeah,
so.
and you also like that was pretty much the extent to what Brooke knew. It was like, I am a simulacrum. Other than that, fucking zero information.
God, that's such a good clip. If you haven't watched Keys to the Universe, go fucking watch it. It's such. I think it's a fantastic intro to what we do
I think
here.
So too.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing, and like if you like Keys to the Universe, I think you will just like what we do.
Venture Forth is for you
as a brand.
Yes.
It's like as a group. I think you'll like what we do.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
And it's run by none other than the illustrious Shane O'Loughlin
And
over
performed
here.
by the illustrious Seth Dan Fowler.
Hey, I'm in there. I'm in it.
Your DM Seth. And speaking of illustrious people,
Yeah.
let's bring our illustrious Rebecca.
About damn time.
Hey.
Hell, it's about time.
Sorry. All right. Get your flags.
These boys be talking.
I know. We're
Boys
chatty.
be talking.
We're
dude.
chatty.
Chatty,
Chatty
chatty.
boys.
Girls be shopping and boys be talking.
Boys be chopping. We chopping it up in here.
Give your flags ready. Is
We got our
everyone
flags.
ready?
So for those unfamiliar with this segment, we bring in Rebecca tells us a fascinating story. We raise our flags as she usually
A
reads.
tale of woe.
If you have these are basically Am I the Asshole or DM or like D&D horror stories.
stories.
If you have a horror story, send it to our email, venture4dnd@gmail.com. Make sure Am I the AITA or D&D horror story is in the subject line. It makes it easier to find them.
Yes, indeed.
And maybe we'll chat about it one day.
And the email is ventureforthdnd@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Land the
There
plane.
really is no way to not look excited.
They're great.
So anyway.
No, yeah. Angry flag.
I think it's really just that you guys are excited to wave them. So maybe if you were less
We're
excited.
just a couple of little guys.
Maybe he'll just like.
They just move.
I still look happy though. I look like a bummed out person who's like, yay.
There's a
You know what I
coyness
mean?
to
Like,
it if you try to lift it
Yeah.
morosely.
Yeah. All right. Rebecca,
I have
tell us a story.
I will. I have a D&D horror story for you today.
Excellent.
The title is DM reveals my character's secret and starts taking over them as well. Bum bum
Yep.
bum.
Don't do that.
Nope.
I joined a new group that was just about to start. The DM describes the world as a continent that has no humans and will basically kill any human who sets foot on it. I asked the DM if I could make a human that was shipwrecked and saw two of the survivors being brutally killed. She would always wear a mask and cover everything at all times for her safety until she could escape. The DM loved the idea and enthusiastically agreed. We went through a couple of sessions with the players loving that they couldn't find out why I was so secretive about my looks. I missed one session and came back to my character's secret being outed by a god and given protection from being discriminated against. The players didn't really like it because we weren't able to bond over it. I asked the DM why they would do that. They said they thought that I was having issues with playing my character, so they took away the issue. I told them that it was my character's whole reason for why they were with the party. He told me that the god demanded that I stay with them or his protection would disappear. The DM then started to tell me how my character would do certain things now that they were free. He basically handed me a whole new character to play with a different class. I was a rogue thief. When I asked why I was being turned into a cleric, they told me that my character was so thankful to the god that they became the cleric. I didn't know how to play a cleric. I left after the only thing that I could do was roll dice because the DM would tell me what to do because of my lack of knowledge. A party member reached out to me to tell me that they had left also. The DM took over my character for the rest of the campaign.
Oof.
I can't imagine that campaign went on very long.
Yeah, if that's the kind of behavior you're getting from a DM, man, that is a horror story.
Yeah, I mean, I
That
think
is
it's
a
one
horror
of those
story.
like, there's so many telling things about the way sometimes people manipulate this game, and one of them is like DMs who are just there for the power trip.
Dude, it's crazy how transparent it is when
Yeah.
you read about it in these like.
Yeah, because it's like it is there is a really beautiful thing about DMing, which is like you get to sort of build this. And my sister hates it when I use this because she's an immersive theater creator. But like you build basically every D&D session that you run for your players is an immersive theater experience.
Mhm.
Like you are creating
Yep.
a world for them to navigate through, and they get to choose how they do it. And so you are like you are effectively like an artist providing this portrait that they get to move through, this landscape that they get to move through.
Mhm.
And if you look at it as a way for you to like inflict something on people, or like, I don't know, a thing that they have to go through in the way that you want them to,
Mhm.
it's like you're coming to it for a totally different reason than
Mhm.
the thing that appeals to me about it, which is like the sharing of it and the like, look at this cake I made. Do you like the different flavor? Like
Yeah.
which flavor
Right.
is your favorite? You know,
Yeah.
do you want a piece with more icing? Or less? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rebecca, what's your thought? You read it. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think I always like to like I don't like to both sides it, but I like to always know where the OP is coming from too.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't think that the first character idea I would come up with when my DM tells me there's no humans on this planet and like humans in
Yeah,
this world
that's a good point.
would be killed on sight. I don't think I would then say, but what if I played a human?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a little bit like counter to the story that's being told.
Yeah.
And I think that you should tell the story with your DM, and if you don't want to tell the story with them, that's probably not the hip for you to begin with.
Mhm.
So for starters, I think OP's initial choice was weird, but two wrongs don't make a right.
Mhm.
And if the DM, as they said, enthusiastically consented to that, which it sounds like they did, then they need to go along with, like, the GM needs to now go along with what they said, right?
Yeah,
is
give the player license over certain elements.
exactly.
Like,
if you agree to it, I don't like. There was a lot of phrasing in it about saying the DM said I was having trouble, and it's like, well, I don't understand.
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from? Like, why was it because there was a lot of discourse around the players being curious why you covered your face? Like, maybe he felt like it was maybe the GM felt like it was distracting from the story.
The secret too tightly.
Yeah, I mean, it because one thing that we did, like, especially with Ulma, it always brings me back to Ulma, right? Playing a child in D&D can be kind of hard because. Yes, we want to acknowledge that she's a child, but we also don't want to belabor it. Like, we don't want to bring it up every single time we meet somebody. It can be a little odd. Like, people can, like, your GM can say, oh, they look at you a little strangely, and then we can move on. We don't want to have every single conversation be about, oh, weird, there's a child traveling with you, because it really does, like, derail the story.
Yes.
And so it's possible that the GM was like, you being a human here is derailing the story to a point that, like, we can't even... That they felt like they couldn't move on.
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah, it
no
really
excuse
depends on
for
how the
sharing the
players react.
secret.
Yeah.
Especially after missing a session, it feels like it was like punishment.
Yes.
That feels like punishment.
It feels like punishment.
That
So
feels
it's
like
like,
punishment.
Especially if the subject was never broached, right? If the DM
Yeah.
didn't say, like, hey, look, I know I agreed to this, but I'm finding it now to be a distraction.
Exactly.
Can we work towards a
Yeah.
reveal and then have you be there for it? Though?
That's
right, and then
crazy
saying
that they did it
that
without them
you
being
were.
there.
We talk about this a lot. Like, don't tell me as a PC what I'm feeling.
Yes.
And this GM was like, you felt so grateful
is
to the
how-
god,
oh,
so now
God.
you're a cleric. I'm like,
Ooh.
excuse
Yeah.
me, it's still
Yeah.
my PC.
Yeah.
Crazy to
That is
switch their class for
insane.
them.
Yeah, to like, I won't even physically, like, I won't do anything to your guys' characters without talking about it and really making sure that it's like I have full and total license to do it, because like I know from experience, like PCs and player characters, like that's the one element of this you really get control and agency over. It's
Yeah.
like your character, how they react, their feelings, right? And like I as the GM might right, in a situation, right, in certain situations be like, hey, like let's talk about this, because like if your character was in this world, I think pretty strongly that they would not react in the way they're reacting right now.
Yes.
Because of all of this evidence or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
but that's a discussion.
Yeah.
And then then you get to go like, but because of this, and I get to go, okay, fair. And we get to like talk in the way that like an actor and director have that
100%.
conversation. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
If you want to see this done really well, I think there's a recent clip of James Gunn and the new,
yeah,
you know,
David
the clip.
Cornsway,
Yes.
yeah.
It's a great clip of two people who care very much about the story they're telling and how they get to an agreement and make it work. Right.
Yeah.
And they're both very passionate, and that's like, it's like, cool. That's kind of what you want here too. Right. Is like, and I will say, like, I've gotten the feedback. I actually got the feedback because like I'm very interested in becoming better at this craft.
Yeah.
And I've asked players, I'll be like, hey, what is the thing? And I actually got the feedback once of like, I guess I had a tendency to sometimes like insert like emotions or input into a PC's, like, not like being like, you feel this, but like you might do this or you might do that or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got the feedback, and this was early on in my DM career. This was years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck. Like I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
And so like you can do it. It's easy to do. Especially when you're starting out, because as a DM you maybe haven't relinquished that control yet.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I want to like tell this story.
But
and
I see it so clearly in my mind.
yeah. And like you can't get attached to that shit. And you really can't get attached to anything that a PC might do. So
And
Yes.
it's so like I just had this conversation with one of our wonderful players. We have so many wink. We have so many players, wonderful players coming to the table for season 2.
yes, we do.
And I just had a conversation with one of them about something that like they wanted to change something pretty pivotal to the character. And like I went to them in the same way that you're talking, where I was like, I want to answer your need desperately.
Yes.
Right. Like, well, can we talk about where this is coming from? Because I want to know why. But let me tell you, like, as we're getting into this, like, full transparency, this is what I want. It's like, this is what I see as making sense.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pull too far away from that, because it is important to me to maintain this congruity, right? There's congruence to the world.
Yeah.
And if we change this element of your character, I don't see it making a great deal of sense. So we will have to work really hard to do that, which I'm down to do. But maybe we can avoid that if we can first talk about why
What's the why
popped up for you, you know? And I think that that's, you know, that conversation happening between this DM and this player maybe saves the campaign, right? Like maybe saves this interaction where they go, where like you said, I thought this would be fun, but now I'm finding it obstructive that you're the only human in this world, and like I need to add some divine intervention, or maybe this is why, right? Like, there's a million reasons, right? But the party doesn't have enough healers, or like Jimmy doesn't want to be a healer anymore. You know, would you be comfortable multi-classing? Or what if I gave you a healing item that you could use, or, you know, whatever, right? Like, is that why they switched them to cleric? Like, I don't know. Like, it's so bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
It feels like unsalvageable.
Yeah.
Like, that's a terrible DM. Get the fuck out of there. Kind of, you know what I mean?
It's hard to justify. It's hard to come up with any set of circumstances that would excuse that behavior as it's been presented to us, right?
Yes. But I do think like there's so much like over communicate, you know, like if you can be vulnerable about like what you want as a DM, and try to be, you know, in service to the story that you're all telling together, try to address your players like needs and interests. These are the makings of good D&D.
You know what? Something comes to mind actually that we talked about in a recent episode. We talked about warlocks. Right? Yeah. And like this is a weird one, and it requires a lot of conversation, and this was an extensive conversation. But you know, like, you know, having a character change class, like when, you know, we talked about the warlock arc for Flynn. I went to Russ and I was like, listen, you know, you trust me. And normally I wouldn't ask this, but like, because of what happened, I need you to take levels in Warlock.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And I was like, trust me, I will resolve it. I will figure it out. That's on me to make it all make sense. And, you know, like, and you're going to play from behind for a little while, which I had him do. But because I was like, in order for this to make sense, in order for the world to be congruent, which like I'm the steward of the world, and it's I hate to say it, like, not hate to say it, but like, I have a right to insert my authority when it comes to the way that the world works.
And that can be really challenging.
And it can be really hard to do as a DM to set firm boundaries like that with players, because like this player, maybe they came in and you were like, maybe that DM was like, oh, sure. You know what I mean? And then like they did it and then the DM regretted it.
Right.
Again, I still disagree with all of the ways that it was handled, but like without all of that context, because I've made decisions as a DM that I regretted and that I wanted to change later.
For sure.
Especially over the course of a long-term campaign, because you don't anticipate the consequences. You don't foresee the problems that might arise.
And then you feel this like emotional trap of being like, oh, I'm like, for me anyway, I'm just like, I just want everybody to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but because it is a game, and because it is magical fairy tale land where anything can be real, there is a tendency to be like, well, who cares? Well, you know, let's change class.
Here's the difference.
Yeah.
This player was absent when their secret was
100%.
revealed.
I mean, we're talking
and
more
then
broadly,
they're now being because that secret was revealed by a god. Now they're grateful to it, so therefore they would be a cleric.
Yeah.
In our situation, Russell Flynn reached out to do something that he could build a pact with. I mean, that was a choice they made. Like that was a choice that Flynn made, and these were called the consequences to that choice.
Yeah.
Now, the caveat that we have also is that there was a DM swap in there.
Yeah.
So Ethan did not say in the moment, yes, you can do this, but this is a conflict. Like this would be your consequence. Whereas if you had been there from the beginning, in that moment, you might have said, Russell, you might have stopped.
Like,
we might have gone transparent above
like,
table. This is the consequences of doing that. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. You know? Take a Warlock back.
And then maybe that would have gone differently had that happened in the moment, right? But at the end of the day, this OP was not present when their secret was revealed.
Again, that's never all right. I just don't. Yeah, I'm like, there's no reason whatsoever for doing that.
Fucked up. Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting one because again, to maybe put a button on it, like the way that it was handled, terrible. All of the actions that DM took were really bad. The maybe like caveat, I think is the way you say it, in like, or what I will say is like, as the DM though, in a situation where like your world has certain congruencies, certain things built in, right? If you're like, there's no Dragonborn in my world, and someone goes, I want to play a Dragonborn, you go, no.
You can't.
Remember that shit I just said? No. You know, like you get to do that as the DM because you know, to your point, right? Like I just want everybody to have fun. Everyone includes you, the DM. And if you're not going to have fun because someone, like if you're like, artificers don't exist in my world, and someone's like, I really want to play a Battlesmith Artificer, and you get to go, no.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Or if you're open to it, maybe you can go, okay, well, you're going to be the first one ever, though, and it's going to be shitty.
Yeah.
Because you're figuring it out. So, like, just know that, because that's what I need as the DM, to have fun and make my world make sense that I've spent a shitload of time
so much energy trying to cultivate and craft that
there's like
foundation.
Lessons to be gleaned from this from the DM side too, which is like you're allowed to set those boundaries, but you know, but fucking talk to your players and do things in conjunction with them
and err on the side of talking to them more and I think like in the theme of secrets, I think it's like you can tell your players things, you know, and like you can be like, you know, Seth knows, but we have a secret, you know, the other players
in the
don't
scene
know.
that you didn't play before you have the moment with Andra where you say when the year she's from or like the moment before you do these big reveals, you two clock eyes, you do a big shit-eating grin, and you guys reveal it. It is a you checked in, you had a moment of check-in, and
of
that
like,
is the like
time?
Okay, this is the secret. Are you and if either one of you had given any inclination of trepidation or nerves, it wouldn't have happened. And that's exactly what you're talking about right there. Is that like that moment of just Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Are you cool with me revealing this?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the flip of it is, to give props to Mayana, she figured out that Marius was the monster right away.
Yeah.
Right? She looked into his eyes, right? And it was a really fun moment because Mayana figured it out, but Solana didn't, right? Because Solana rolled poorly on her insight check, right? And she rolled 2 nat 1s because she got to re-roll. And it was just a beautiful moment of like the gameplay informing. Because I remember as a DM, I was like, oh, I wasn't ready for her to figure it out so fast, But I was like, whatever happens here, like here we are, but that was delightful too, because it's like the player figured it out right away, but the story didn't, so we got to save that reveal for later. And I just think like there's that's also cool. That's just another example of like the secret you're keeping from the player isn't as important as the secret you're keeping from the character, and that's the real real fun is. I think. In, like,
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a bar. Secret you're keeping from the player is not as important as the secret you're keeping from the player or the character. I like that a lot. That's a good one. I think that's a great. That's a great spot to fucking boom. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
It's a free podcast, folks.
You can take that shit to the bank. But this has been Master the Game with Seth
and Shane.
And we'll see. I did it.
You did it.
And Rebecca. Her name just doesn't rhyme, so we let a beat. It's like the end of the song when it like ends on the good note, and then there's like the little bit at the end of like the like fuck yeah, dude. Like a Day to Remember at the end of their songs. They always have like the yeah, dude. Sorry. Anyway, we'll see you at the next one. Bye, nerds.
So it's the Ain't That Right after having a bad. It's been a long day. Yeah. Always ain't that Rebecca. You know what I'm saying?
Anyway, goodbye,
it doesn't
guys.
rhyme, but yeah, bye, nerds.
Bye, nerds.